Welcome to Grade 9 Second Midterm English Language. In this presentation, we will be looking at Extinct Friends, Unit 4, Pupils Book. We will also look at grammar, adverbs, and finally finish with the activities that are present in the workbook, Unit 4. The first activity in Extinct Friends, Unit 4, page number 29, is acting out. We have a story which Nethula says. It's something that he has experienced while he was asleep, a dream. So I want you to read the story of Nethula's tour of the Ice Age and answer the questions. The first question has been done for you. Make sure that you read the story slowly and try to understand what is happening, what Nethula is experiencing with his friend, right? So once you read this, the first question is, where did the mammoth come from? So we can see a huge elephant, and that is the mammoth, right? So the mammoth came from the Ice Age, right? So once you read the story, you will understand all the answers for the remaining questions 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So please answer them. Now we will look at activity number 2. Activity number 2 is vocabulary. In this activity there are 5 words that are also given in this presentation. So what you have to do is you have to find these words in a dictionary. So I'm sure you know how to use the dictionary, right? So once you find it, you will see the meaning of this word and also the word class. So make a table similar to the one that is given in this presentation, and then fill out the meaning and the word class of each of the remaining words. Next we will look at activity number 4. We will not be doing activity number 3 because it is a speaking exercise, but we will touch on the topic that is given in activity number 3 in activity number 4. So activity number 3 is basically talking to the class regarding a dream that you saw, and in activity 4 we are going to develop a story using the words that are given. Again, we are referring back to Nethula's tour of the Ice Age. So you have to write in your own words, not the same story that is given in the textbook, but you have to use the words that are in page number 33 and develop a story that is similar to Nethula's tour of the Ice Age. Okay, so you can begin like this. Last night I had an interesting dream. I was walking in my garden. Suddenly a mammoth appeared. And what happened? Okay, so you're expected to be very creative here. Use the words in page number 33 to have a backbone to your story, basically to help you with what you need to write. But create a story. It's a dream, so you can imagine any event that might happen between you and the mammoth. Maybe you travel to some other area or another era, not the Ice Age, maybe the prehistoric age where dinosaurs were, right? So be very creative and taking inspiration from Nethula's tour of the Ice Age and the words that are given, develop your own story, right? Next we will look at activity number 5. This is a reading exercise. So if you turn to page number 34, you will see that there are 15 sentences, and each sentence is talking about safety, but in 3 different locations. So in this activity you need to recognize which sentence belongs to which column. So I have given a few examples. So what you need to do is draw this table and make sure that you have enough space to write down 15 sentences in the respective columns. So if the first sentence is talking about, now in this case it says don't drive or ride fast, then it definitely belongs to safety on the road. So categorize all the instructions that are given. I have done two more to fill out each column one by one. So safety at home, an example would be keep all medicines out of reach of children, right? That is something, that is a safety precaution that you can take at home, right? Safety at play, an example would be always do warm up and warm down exercises before and after the sport activities, right? So there is something that can happen, that should happen when you go out and play some sports, right? So after you categorize all 15 sentences into their respective columns, add two more instructions in your experience to each column. So these two instructions should be something that is not mentioned already. Okay, it should be something that is new. So in order to do this activity, you can use internet resources, or you can ask your parents, right? And try to find two more safety precautions that you can take for each category, right? So once you do that, once you have all your information, you can design a poster. So in this poster, in order to design the poster, it doesn't have to be very big. It can be an A3 paper, right? Or even an A4 paper, it doesn't matter. As long as it's colorful and it conveys the theme that you want to talk about. So you can pick one topic. It can be safety at home, safety on the road, or safety at play. Ideally, I would prefer if the poster is big, like the size of a bristle board, because then you can see the images very clearly. So draw pictures, put some points. So the colors that you use have to be eye-catching. You can't use dull colors. So as soon as somebody sees the poster, you should grab their attention, right? And so it has to make the people want to read this poster, so that they understand about the safety precautions that you are talking about, right? Now let's look at activity number 6, page numbers 34 to 35. So in this activity, we have some pictures on page number 35. So I've taken an image and given the first three pictures along with the answers, right? So there are pictures ranging through A to J, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 images. So three of the words that are in this circle are already used up, so you can't use them again. So observe the pictures very well, see which word matches the closest to what you see in the picture, right? So the first picture looks like a fish that has been fossilized. So the closest match is a fossil, or fossil as I have given over here, right? And the image B is a landscape. So it's actually a valley, and then we have used the word valley in order to describe this picture. And then C, that's a picture. If you look at these animals are all mammals, so that is easily identifiable, right? So we have used the answer mammals in order to describe this picture. So now there are more pictures, so I'm sure you understand how you should do this activity. So when you're writing it down in your writing copy, just put the letter of the picture and then put an arrow, and then you can write the word that describes this picture in order to complete the activity. If at any point that you don't understand some of the words that are given in this circle, you are encouraged to use a dictionary in order to figure out what these words mean, so that you can easily figure out which word matches to which picture and complete the activity. Now let's look at activity number 7. This is a reading activity, and here there's a documentary telecast of one of the children's television programs. So the expectation here is to read this telecast and to answer the questions, right? So what I will do is I will read this telecast and I want you to follow it with me, right? Dinosaurs are a popular topic when we discuss the prehistoric era. Today, let's unearth more mysteries of this lesser known era. Have you heard of any prehistoric mammals? If not, you would surely love to see a megatherium, an elephant sized ground sloth. Look at this life size replica of the megatherium, which greets visitors at the sloth sanctuary in Costa Rica. Imagine that an elephant sized, hairy animal with giant claws ambling through the landscape, looking for trees it could sit in front of and slowly chew on the leaves. This extinct herbivore stood 7 meters tall and weighed 7 tons. There are many views in the scientific world about the disappearance of this creature. One of them is that they disappeared as a result of fast changes in the climate. Another is that these sloths had been hunted to extinction by the carnivores. Now let's look at an extinct carnivorous sea creature. Ammonites were a group of shelled sea creatures that mysteriously disappeared at the same time as the dinosaurs. Ammonites were invertebrates, creatures without a backbone. Instead, they had a very supportive shell. Ammonites grew as big as 1 meter in diameter. They probably lived in warm, shallow, tropical areas of the ocean. Their diet consisted of small fish. Ammonites were popular on the menus of larger carnivorous marine creatures, but they would either have had to pull them out from the shell or had jaws powerful enough to crush them. Do you know that Sri Lanka is one of the best sources of prehistoric studies in South Asia? Over 180 prehistoric sites have been found in Sri Lanka, including undisturbed human habitats. The caves called Butterdombalena, a site near Kuruvita in Ratnapura, Belilena in Kiturgala, Pahayangala in Bulat Sinhala, and Aligala, a site near Sigiriya, provide such evidence. The excavations are still going on with the involvement of many archaeologists. Now we have come to the end of today's segment. Hope you would read more on the prehistoric era. Okay, so there are some images of the Megatherium and Ammonites, right? I've included them in the presentation as well. So I encourage you to look at what these creatures were like, what they used to eat, what their habitats were, right? So do some research if you're interested and find out what these creatures were and how they might have disappeared. What are the theories that are put forward, right? So the next thing that you have to pay attention to is there are some words that are in bold. Surely, slowly, mysteriously, probably are all in bold. So these words are, as I'm sure you, some of you know, are adverbs, right? So they describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. We will look at what adverbs are in the next slide. But for now, when you're reading this telecast, pay special attention to these adverbs. In order to complete this activity, answer questions from 1 to 5 in your writing copy. So we will be skipping activity 8 since it's a speaking exercise and we will directly look at the learning point on page number 39, right? So as discussed in the previous slide, we are going to look at adverbs, right? So what are adverbs? I'm sure you noticed that when I said adverbs, if you break down the word, it says add something to verbs, right? So adverbs mainly describe verbs, but they also describe adjectives and other adverbs as well, right? So a lot of adverbs end in ly. Not all, but a majority do. So it's very easy to identify a majority of the adverbs in a given sentence, right? So adverbs describing verbs. Adverbs are mainly used to describe the way an action is happening by modifying the verb, right? So I have given some examples here in order to clarify what I mean by saying that. It's that, so the first one is Philip sings loudly in the shower. You can simply say Philip sings in the shower, but by adding an adverb, you are further expressing or describing the action sing and showing that Philip is singing at a higher voice, right? So the next example is my cat waits impatiently for his food. So you can just say my cat waits for his food without describing the action, or you can add an adverb and say my cat waits impatiently for his food, right? So you are giving more meaning to the sentence by adding these adverbs. Next one is I will seriously consider your suggestion. Here you can simply say I will consider your suggestion, or you can put an adverb and describe the verb a bit better and say I will seriously consider your suggestion, right? Now let's look at instances where adverbs are describing adjectives and other adverbs, right? So adverbs can also add more description to adjectives and other adverbs to show a degree of intensity, right? In fact, you could use multiple adverbs in a sentence. So if you use multiple adverbs in a sentence, that means you would most likely be describing adverbs using other adverbs. Okay. So let's look at some examples. She swims quickly. Here the adverb is describing the verb swims. Okay. So I've given an arrow in front of each sentence and I'm telling you what to focus on. So in that first sentence, it says she swims quickly, and swims is the verb, and the adverb is further describing the action. In the second sentence, she is an extremely quick swimmer. Here we have an adjective quick, and here we are using the adverb in order to describe the adjective. So you can simply say she is a quick swimmer, but you can add an adverb in order to describe the adjective and say she is an extremely quick swimmer. Okay. And finally, we have an instance where we have an adverb describing another adverb. You can simply say she swims extremely quickly. Okay. So you can use one adverb. You can say she swims quickly, but you can use another adverb in front of quickly and say that she is swimming really fast, right? She swims extremely quickly. So this instance where you have an adverb describing another adverb. So I've given some examples just to clarify it a bit better. The first four sentences are instances where the adverb is describing an adjective, and we have the fifth sentence where an adverb is describing another adverb. So let's read through them. First one is I'm extremely happy in my new job. You can simply say I am happy in my new job, or you can add the adverb and say I am extremely happy in my new job, right? Second one, she is in hospital with a seriously injured neck. You can simply say she is in hospital with a injured neck, or in order to show the degree of intensity, we can add an adverb and describe the adjective to show how serious it is, right? We can say she is in hospital with a seriously injured neck. Next example, it's incredibly easy to make a mistake when knitting. So Here again we are describing the adjective easy by using an adverb, right? Next example, the girl climbed dangerously high up the tree. So again you are showing a degree of intensity here. So you can simply say the girl climbed high up the tree, which would not show how serious the situation is. But by adding this adverb, you are showing how serious this situation is in the sentence. The final sentence, Peter Jackson finished his assignment remarkably quickly. So here we can simply say Peter Jackson finished his assignment quickly, but that shows he has done it pretty fast. But by adding the adverb, we are trying to express that this assignment has been done at an unnatural rate, at a remarkable rate, right? It was done remarkably fast. So these are the uses of adverbs. They're very useful in order to describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs in sentences, right? So I hope you understood what adverbs are and where we can use them in sentences and how to identify adverbs in any given sentence, right? So now that we have an understanding of what adverbs are and how they're used, let's look at activity 9. Fill in the blanks using the most suitable adverb. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adverbs, right? So the first question is done for you. The extreme weather had affected the animals blank badly. So the most suitable adverb here is very badly. Okay. So look at the words that are given, the remaining 4 words, and see which word suits best in which sentence and complete the sentences from 2 to 5, right? So once you have completed activity 9, turn to page number 40, and on top we have another activity with regards to adverbs. It says read the list of adverbs given below which are commonly used to express the speaker's or writer's attitude, right? So I have given a photo on the presentation as well of the adverbs that are given on the pupils book. So these are words that are usually used by writers or speakers in order to express their attitude or how they think towards something. Okay, so there are some examples that are given. So the first one is, unfortunately the dinosaurs were extinct. I wish I had one as my pet. And then the following sentence is, luckily they are extinct now or you would be their dessert, right? So here 2 adverbs are used, unfortunately and luckily, right? So similarly, what you have to do is construct your own sentences using these adverbs in order to describe an action, an adjective, or another adverb. Okay, so that you have a better grasp of how you can use adverbs in your sentences. In activity 11, we have a notice in page number 40 and a note which is given on top of page number 41. I have taken images of both the notice and the note and provided them in this presentation. So let's read them together. The notice says, a documentary on the life in the Stone Age will be screened on Friday 20th February from 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the auditorium of Nilmalvila Mahavidyalaya. Reserve your seat before 10th February through your class teacher, right? So there are a few things that you need to notice in order to write a notice, right? So when you want to write a notice, we have provided some key information here. We have given the date, time, and venue of this event, and most importantly, in the first sentence we mention what this event is, right? And so it's short and sweet. It tells you exactly what you need to know. So you might have seen notices around your school, right? So if it's a notice, ideally you would have the topic as notice, so that when people see, they will notice because it says to notice, right? So then you have a small paragraph including all the information in a short and sweet manner, and then at the bottom left hand corner you have the date that the notice was written, and on the right hand column we have the person who is responsible for writing this notice. It can be a person, or in this case it is the English club at Isipatana Mahavidyalaya, right? So that is how you write a notice. Now let's look at the note that is given on the next page, which is also given in the presentation. It says, Sherin. There's a documentary on the life in the Stone Age at Nilmalvila Mahavidyalaya Auditorium on 20th February. Would you like to see it? Our teacher wants to reserve the seats. Write to me immediately. Sharda. So in this note, you will notice that we have the sender's name. It's very informal in a sense. So we have the sender's name, and then the person we are addressing to, basically, and then we have the information that we want to ask in a very informal manner, and then finally we have the name on the bottom right hand corner of the person who wrote this note. Also note that the date is on top right hand corner. So this is the format that you have to follow even in your exams. If it says write a note, you have to follow this format in order to get full marks, right? So you can practice writing notes in a similar manner with the activities that are given in, or rather the questions that are given under this activity 11. We have A, B and C. A says, imagine you are Sherin and write a reply to Sharda, right? So by looking at this note, you have to develop a response. Imagine that you are Sherin. You might agree to go and watch this documentary, or you may not, but you have to write to Sharada and say what you feel like doing, right? So write a note to Sharada by saying what you need to do. In B, it says, imagine that grade 9 pupils of your school have organized an exhibition, Evolution of Man. Write a notice informing all the pupils, teachers and parents of the exhibition. Mention the date, venue and the importance of the exhibition, right? So in this part of the question, you have to develop a notice, right? So you have to think a bit. You have to come up with a date, a place where you can hold this exhibition. I'm sure you know a few places. You can say BMICH, or even something local. You can say school auditorium, right? And then you can say the importance of this exhibition. So you have to, in a sentence, tell the person who is reading this notice why this exhibition is important, why it might be beneficial for every person who comes to see it. Okay, so the exhibition is all about the evolution of the man. That should be included in the first line of this notice. Okay, and finally you put the date which the notice was written on the bottom left hand corner, and on the right hand corner you will mention who wrote this notice, right? Now in this case it says your school have organized an exhibition, so you can say management and then Leeds International, right? So you're writing on behalf of the management essentially, right? In Part C, it says write a note to your cousin inviting him or her to the exhibition. So again we have the opportunity to write a note. So you can pick any cousin, pick your favorite cousin, right? So you can put your cousin's name right on top and then informally ask him or her to come see this exhibition with you and to write you immediately, because you need to um, know the response pretty soon, right? So attempt these questions and make sure that you study the format of the notice and the note, because it will be important when you are facing your exams. Now we shall look at the final activity for this unit, activity 13. Activity 13 relates to the poem in activity 12. So read the poem and answer the questions that are given in activity 13, right? We have 6 questions in activity 13 and the first one has been done for you in the presentation. So the first question says, what were the 3 time periods in which dinosaurs lived? Okay. So in the first part of the poem, it says the dinosaurs first lived outdoors during the time Triassic. While most died out, some came about later in the Jurassic. Now we mentioned Triassic and Jurassic, so those are 2 of the time periods. So let's read a bit more. It says, then they evolved as the earth revolved in times known as Cretaceous. So here we have the final time period, right? Cretaceous period. So by reading this poem, you can find the answers to questions number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, right? So similar to all the previous units of the pupils book, most of the further activities that you need to do are given in your workbook. Okay, so now that we have completed unit 4 of the pupils book, now it's time to open your workbook and do all the activities. There are 8 activities, so please complete all 8 activities that are given in your workbook. It relates to everything that we have already covered in the pupils book, right? So in order to further understand the unit that we have covered, okay, I encourage you to Google some keywords as mentioned in this slide. You can search adverbs and how they are used to get more examples of the various forms in which you may encounter these adverbs, right? You can also, since this entire unit was focused about dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures, you can search about the prehistoric era, the Triassic era and the Cretaceous era, and learn what sort of creatures lived in those eras as we have discovered so far, right? It might even encourage you to follow archaeology in the future, right? So I encourage you to look at these topics and see what you find, right? So we have come to the end of this presentation. Please do all the exercises that are mentioned in this presentation and please stay safe. Thank you for listening.